The question is, what do you think that each teacher, professor should know about how the brain functions when they start teaching the students about how children learn to read?
There is now a real science of reading, which I think every teacher should know about when they teach reading in first grade or second grade. It's very clear now that we have methods for teaching reading that work better than others. And the systematic approach teaching children how the alphabet works, how each letter or group of letters maps onto sounds is the best way to teach reading, because it's also the best way to teaching the systematic correspondence between letters and sounds is the best way to acquire reading, because it corresponds nicely to the way reading is organized in our brain circuits. I've studied a lot how the brain is organized for reading, and it's the correspondence between the recognition of the letters in vision and the sounds that this letter makes in the brain is coding in the temporal lobe. That correspondence is the key to learning how to read. So if teachers focus on that, they get better results. This is called phonics, and it's a very classical method for reading, but it's only recently that we've discovered how tightly it corresponds to the organization of our brain circuits in young children.
What are the main signs that a child might have dyslexia, and how would that manifest?
So what we call dyslexia is a child who is receiving good instruction and yet is not progressing sufficiently despite normal intelligence and a good teacher. There can be several causes to dyslexia, and so now I would like to talk about dyslexias in the plural, because there are many subtypes. There are some children who do not hear very well the sounds of language. This is called phonological dyslexia. They have trouble actually at the auditory phonological level of spoken language. But there are also many children who have trouble at the orthographic level. They don't understand very well how letters are organized as a string of characters on the page. Some children mix the letters, don't understand their positions very well, and some children have trouble focusing on one word, and they borrow letters from elsewhere in the page, whereas they should be focusing. If we understand properly the type of dyslexia that children have, we can help them better. That was the main purpose of my talk here at the SARA hospital. Get a good diagnostic of dyslexia, and then you can intervene, for instance, by having children track the letters with their fingers, spacing the letters, or just having a little window on the page that you slide so that you facilitate the focusing on a single word. Different types of dyslexias require different types of intervention.
You said that in your talk, you say that in France, all children go through a cognitive assessment. How does that come about, and how does that help in the identification of early signs of dyslexia?
We have a whole group of scientists in France who are part of what is called the Scientific Council for Education, and they helped design a series of cognitive tests that every single child in first grade is taking, at the beginning of first grade, in the middle, and at the beginning of second grade. And this is very important because we can see what are their needs at the beginning, and then are they progressing correctly through the year in the middle, and did they get good results at the end? And if they don't, the teachers can intervene. What is very important is that every teacher is getting the picture of their classroom. They are getting the detailed results of every single child. So it's not just for national statistics, it's not just for research, it's really to help the teacher focus on what a particular child needs. It's not really designed to detect dyslexia. This is too early, but it's there to prevent dyslexia by making sure that children who have specific needs get what they need from the teacher right from the start. And it's very helpful as a system because it means that everywhere in France, all the teachers are getting the same picture of where they start and where they should be getting. There is a national target, which is to be able to read 50 words per minute in the end of first grade. This fluency is an essential goal. I think for a country like here in Brazil, it should be a similar goal. Portuguese is actually easier to decode than French because it's much more regular in the correspondence between letters and sounds. So there is no reason in Brazil for first graders to not be able to achieve something like 50 words per minute of reading score at the end of first grade.
They said that you mentioned this app that you're developing. It's a twofold question. One, what did you base it on? The development is based on what? And two, what have the results been so far? What results do you expect?
So we have created this method and this reading app, which is called Kalulu. It's really both. It's a set of little booklets that the teachers can use, and an app that you can use at the end of the class or maybe in the family on the phone to facilitate the acquisition of reading. And we've created this app by stuffing it with every single bit of knowledge that we think is useful to acquire reading. There are many publications on the science of reading. We've tried to collect them all and make it into this systematic method for reading. It's very important to understand that if you just expose children to words, written words, they won't learn to read. This is not enough. I'm saying this because I know in Brazil sometimes this is the method, the only method. Just expose children and hope that they will discover the alphabet. It doesn't work. So with this app, we decided to propose very systematic, explicit teaching from the start of all of the principles of the alphabet. They're all in there. And what are the results? Well, we're only getting the beginning of the results in Brazil, but we had a small experimentation in São Paulo that was getting very positive results. Children are learning faster. They have a very good brain, at this age. They can learn very fast. We estimate that they can learn 2 or 3 letters to sound correspondences per week. Every week you introduce them with 2 or 3 new letters. So after 1 trimester, they should know the basics of how to read in Portuguese. And we showed that they could, that it was possible to teach them. We are now getting bigger statistics, but we also have other countries such as France, or also Uruguay, Argentina, Colombia that are participating in this test of the software. And it's just available for everyone to grasp. It's very easy to convert to a new language and see for yourself if you get good results.